Welcome to Twisted 1.21. This brand new update brings along some really interesting and unique changes to the game, so without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. As always, timestamps are in the description below if you want to listen to specific pieces of information. All footage seen here was recorded during the private testing phase of the update, so things here may not entirely reflect what you guys will be seeing now on launch day as things get polished up. Before we get anything out of the way, I briefly want to talk about the performance optimizations in this update. We all know that the game in 1.20 began to progressively run poorer and poorer, but in 1.21 a lot of optimization reworks have been introduced. You should notice much better frames in general as a new render system was created. Structures will become low fidelity as you get further away from them, which helps increase performance a ton. Granted, it's not perfect, as the direct center of Hazleton and sometimes in storms some areas will have a drop in FPS, but other than that it is a massive improvement regardless. This also means loading times have decreased substantially. Alongside quicker load times, server crashing should be a non-issue as memory leakage has been fixed. No more servers crashing very quickly anymore. With this in mind, light mode is done away and everyone is able to play on the same version. Mobile players will also notice more accessibility with the better running game, such as an improved mobile UI for driving. Vehicles in this update have gotten a ton of love and care put into them, with tons of new features and mechanics as well as new rides. We'll get to the new arrivals out of the way first. Vehicle variants are a brand new thing to Twisted, where some vehicles can have additional versions of a base vehicle. You will also notice most vehicles go by fictional names now, which Twisted has been given permission from Greenville to use. Starting with the 2006 Dodge Ram 1500, or Bullhorn Buffalo, we have 11 different variants with this new model. There's the 2500, which is a longer bed version, the Vortex 2 probe truck, and 8 different doghouses from its evolution over the years. The doghouse and Vortex 2 probe truck have undergone massive improvements to their models and look awesome. The Subaru Forester, Ford F-150, and Toyota Tundra have received remodels as well. In addition to that, the Kia Forte has been added so you can choose to use either the regular GT line or the Grizzly. Twisted introduces two brand new civilian vehicles to the dealership, being the 2011 GMC Yukon and the 1991 Nissan Pathfinder. The Yukon has the all blue variant, which is an older support vehicle for Team Dominator coded in Linux. Similarly, the Nissan Pathfinder has the Scout variant, which is the iconic vehicle you are likely familiar with from the Storm Chasers show. Moving to the Chaser Warehouse, we have one entirely new vehicle, which is the Doppler on Wheels 3. This is an older DAO and looks really cool. All Dominators have been improved on as well, with Dominator 1, 2, and 3 getting entirely new models. Yeah, you heard Dominator 3 in that mix. We kept that one quiet until the trailer. Both Dominator 1 and 2 have a couple different variants. Team TIV wasn't left out from the additions either. There are now 10 different TIV 2s, going from the original 2008 TIV 2 with just panels to the current 2024 Storm of Passion TIV. When spawning a vehicle and hopping inside of it, you will notice a couple new things if the new UI wasn't obvious. You have to click the start button to start up the vehicle now, and there's also gears. Everyone by default will be on the arcade gear system, but I highly suggest switching to the realistic gearbox as it feels much better. In the realistic gearbox, you press Q or E to switch from park, reverse, neutral, or drive, which adds a bit more to the immersion factor. To change gearboxes, click the gear icon at the top right of your screen and toggle the arcade gearbox off or on. Smaller but highly requested features for cars have been introduced, being turn signals, hazards, and horns. To use turn signals, you press Z or C, X for hazards, and R for horn. The cruise control keybind has been moved to V. The flip car and lock keybind no longer exist, but the buttons are still there above the speedometer. Headlights have been improved, and they do not lag behind the car anymore because of the lighting system being switched to future. When you start driving, you'll notice vehicles feel different and a lot better. The chassis has been reworked entirely to take into account the drivetrain of the vehicle and the weight, which gives each vehicle a distinct feel. This also includes the suspension, which rolls much better with the vehicle and even bounces when you go off-road. One new thing to be cautious of is that now vehicles hydroplane in heavy rain. Consider slowing down or punching a core, or you may find yourself slamming into something. Honestly though, sliding around is pretty fun if you can somehow control it. That is not the only new cool thing with vehicles though. Vehicle customization and maintenance is something introduced in 1.21. To access the new garage, you have to drive to a Tomcat performance shop around the map and hold R when entering the garage. If you have a very tall or large vehicle, there is a spot outside around the back you can use to access this menu. This will bring you to a menu to customize or fix your vehicle. Starting with suspension, you can adjust the wheel offset, how high the vehicle is, and the shocks. The wheel offset is just how far out the wheels are from the vehicle. Changing the ride height will raise the vehicle. This is a much better alternative to purchasing the lift kit, which back then would raise the vehicle at a set height. The higher you raise your vehicle, the faster off-road speed it will have. Changing the shocks will make your ride much smoother off-road. Moving to the maintenance part, your vehicle will get worn out in many different ways, so you have to keep an eye on how your vehicle is performing. If you neglect repairing your vehicle, you have consequences such as terrible brakes, your engine shutting off randomly, and decreased acceleration. All of these can be caused from crashing your car, driving off-road, driving through large hail, and slamming the parking brake at full speed, among other things. Finally, we have the body modification section. Currently, all you can do is change the color of your vehicle here. The default vehicle colors now are all factory colors the vehicle came in, and not the same preset colors we've had in versions before. This is so much better as a lot of the old default colors didn't look right. So head on down and give your ride a repaint when the update drops. With the custom paint game pass, you can now repaint some vehicle variants such as the Vortex 2 probe truck, doghouse, and the Discovery support vehicle with any RGB value you want alongside any other vehicle available to do so. An exciting addition to all interceptors is the introduction of the manual deployment system. Now you can adjust which and how far parts of the vehicle drop down to deploy. To do this, stop the vehicle and pull the parking brake by clicking it or pressing P. Don't confuse this part by putting your vehicle in the park gear. Then, you expand the deployment menu and hold left click on each stage. You click and hold the part as long as you wish, keeping the part complete or incomplete. To undeploy, you have to hold right click to undo it all. Automatic deployment is still here, but it will complete the full cycle as it always did. All deployment animations have been remastered, but new animations aren't limited to deployment. Enough about what's on the ground though, let's get into what's new in the sky. Starting with tornadoes themselves, Tornado Genesis has been reiterated upon again. The way wall clouds generate has changed to accommodate the addition of tail clouds. The tail cloud will scale with the wall cloud as the tornado grows and shrinks, and they look pretty damn menacing. Tornadoes themselves have been reworked to be even more dynamic with their shapes, which has solved the consistent look of tornadoes that was in 1.20. Side note, wedge tornadoes are now much rarer to get, so if you get a very large tornado, consider yourself lucky and probably consider running the other way. The dust kicked up from tornadoes at the base have been updated and it properly rotates around the circulation and looks better overall. The new windfield mechanics allow for crazy wide windfields again, so you don't have to worry about extremely tight cores anymore. Returning from old versions, the distinct roar from violent tornadoes is back. This will bring back more of the scary elements of the game. Tornado damage has been optimized, allowing for less laggy debris flying. You can also now hear sounds from structures being destroyed, which is pretty cool. Tornado paths are now a lot more deviant, allowing for shiftier tornadoes again. Similarly, storms can now rarely do something like that. Sometimes storms can now move in a completely different direction from the main wind direction, such as a southeasterly moving storm on a northeastern wind day. Storm spawn placement has been altered to allow it for more random variation to go with the deviating motion, because let's be honest, storm paths are pretty predictable in 1.20. For the rest of the storm, rain effects have been improved too, looking nicer from afar. Rain wrap has returned from previous versions as tornadoes now get shrouded by sheets of rain again. As you punch into the storm and get into heavier rain, it will progressively get darker and darker. Upper level intracloud lightning makes a return, so you can view the bright flashes when watching from a distance. Regular lightning strikes and other bright effects like power flashes have been reworked to fit the future lighting system too. Distant thunder rumble returns from... I don't even remember how long. I kinda forgot it was unintentionally removed, but it's back again and so nice to hear. The radar view of storms have been improved a lot as well. The UI itself have been improved like every other single other UI menu, making it much better to navigate. Storms on radar have been changed yet again, looking even more realistic. Hook echoes are now defined incredibly well, with some cells having complete textbook hooks. BWER, or Bounded Weak Echo regions, are now simulated on reflectivity, which adds more detail. On the velocity product, the zero isotop region, or simply the middle part between the green and the red, will now tilt depending on the wind direction of the day, which is accurate. A new kind of polygon has been added, which is the TOR-R, or Tornado Reported, and it has an orangey color. These show up when a weather spotter reports an ongoing tornado. The thermodynamic page looks a lot cleaner now. The colors for each of the value numbers have been adjusted to accurately represent how high each of the values are. You now can hover your mouse over the text of each value to get a brief description of what it is. That way you always have a quick reference if you need a refresher or to teach others. Coming back down again from the atmosphere, let's talk map changes. Not too many map changes were introduced in 1.21, however what's been added is very cool. Most of the changes are in the Prior Lake area. Immediately, you'll notice a new interchange, which is a big addition to the highway system. Old players will notice it looks similar to the Clover interchange that used to be there way back then. Directly next to it, a big truck stop named Truckies has been added. This seems like a really cool chaser meetup with tons of parking space and a nice convenience store. Close by, there's an expanded area of a hilly neighborhood with a barn overlooking the homes. Other than that, not much has changed significantly map-wise. Narrowing down the structures, you will notice refreshed models. Many of the buildings have new materials and things such as signs have new models. This actually helped with optimization a ton by decreasing part count and replacing textures with materials. And things just look overall a lot better. We're just going to quickly run through these miscellaneous additions. They are small additions that I didn't feel would go anywhere specific without breaking the flow, but they are cool enough to mention. All tools and consumables have new models. Drones have been reworked as they now run on a battery. They have a proper UI too, displaying information such as its altitude and speed. Several new probes been added, being 2 turtle probes in Toto. There's a new EAS voice, and Morning Fog from 1.18 has returned. And that's pretty much everything to cover on this update. If you want to see the full changelog in its entirety, you can check it out over on the Twisted Discord or in a link I have shared below. While this update is not as big as 1.20 was, it definitely is a huge improvement and a necessary update that brings the fun back to Twisted. During game testing, it was awesome slowly seeing everything being added, but once it became a lot more put together, I could safely say that it had that version 1.19 kind of fun again. I highly suggest jumping back into the game if you took a break or flat out quit. I foresee this update having a higher player count than ever before, so get out there and get chasing with your friends. If you're watching this video as it's premiering, good luck waiting for it to drop in a few hours. I probably just made the urge to play even worse. Hope to see you all chasing Kisoda. Just remember to not become the probe.